Hey there, you're listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion. Here's your host, RJ Carbone.
And a high drive into left center field. Stanley's going to watch another one fly. Are you kidding me? DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! Knicks take a
Take this time to apologize to absolutely nobody.
At the wall. See ya! See ya! See ya! Mr. Nova.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down and the game is tied.
Rose, you shook up the world again.
I did it again. But God did it, man. I really just had
Gonna have to. Brunson running away. Oh my! He has been the best player to put on that uniform.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
All right. We have reached that time of year again. It feels like every time we get to like December, January, you get the Yankees Luis Arraez rumors. I swear to God, every year you hear these. So I'm trying to take it with a grain of salt. Because I'm an Arraez fan. I like Luis Arraez. And that's what we're going to get into in this show, folks. We're going to talk a little bit about these rumors that have been stirring up. The Luis Arraez rumors, that was today. You first heard about that. There's also been some talk on Gavin Lux, with the Dodgers going out and grabbing Kim to play second base. Lux is most likely to be moved. So that's what we're going to discuss, and then stick around later. We're going to talk a little bit about one Yankee who I think could be a key contributor in the bottom of the order this upcoming season. But the Yankees, as we all know, are still in need of another infielder. They need one more infield bat, whether it be third base, second base, depending on where they want to put Jazz. And anybody who has listened to this podcast or anybody who follows me on social media, you know I have been very high on the Yankees trying to go out and get... I've been very high on Alex Bregman. I want the Yankees to try and go out and get him. And I know that's not going to happen. Let me preface by saying that again. I know that's not going to happen. It's a dream scenario. If you're talking about who I think the best target left on the market via trade and free agency, I still think the best fit would be Alex Bregman. Because I think the Yankees need pop. I think the Yankees need on base. I think the Yankees need glove. A guy who can get you a decent balance of that. And Bregman's a guy who can provide some power. He's a guy who can get on base, and he's a guy who's got a good glove. He's got a very solid glove. You know, the metrics agree with that. His fielding run value is always positive, outs above average. He can play third base. If you need him to slide over and spare Anthony Volpe a day, he can play shortstop in a pinch. But Alex Bregman would be a very good bat to add because he gives you consistent production year after year. Even with the fall off since 2020, he's still always given you production to some degree at the plate. In 8 of his 9 major league seasons, he's posted a 775 OPS or higher. In 8 of 9 major league seasons, he's posted a 115 OPS plus or higher. The only time he didn't achieve a 115 OPS plus was when he played 91 games in 2021. Recently, over the course of the last 3 seasons, he's hit 20 home runs or more in each of them. And he's accumulated a 4 F WAR or higher, or if you want to use B WAR, depending on where you want to use, Fangraphs or Baseball Reference, his WAR has been 4 or higher in each of the past 3 years. Last year was his age 30 season, and he was productive, folks. A 260 batting average, a 768 OPS, a 118 OPS plus, 26 home runs, 75 RBIs. For some reason, there's this weird stigma around Bregman where people think he's like declined so much to where he's not a good hitter anymore. Like the worry you're hearing about Bellinger is valid because he's actually that roller coaster. Bregman's been very steady. And I think him exploding for 2 seasons during the cheating scandal when he knew a pitch was coming at home did him a service at the plate because it makes the rest of his career look underwhelming. But he's always been solid. I think that's nuts to take away how solid he's been at the plate every single year of his career just because he's not an MVP like he was for a couple seasons there. He's going to produce every year. He gives you postseason experience. This is a guy who's been in the playoffs in every year of his career. He's won, I put quotes around, 2 World Series championships. 789 career postseason OPS with 19 homers and 54 RBIs through 99 playoff games. He's always healthy year to year. So you want guys you can rely on. There's another reason to go after him. You take away the shortened schedule in 2020, he's played 145 games or more in 6 of his last 7. 155 games or more in 5 of those 7. Obviously, I think what Yankees fans are scared of is the uncomfort, right? He's coming from the Astros. He was a part of that scandal, and he was very cocky about it. I see the uncomfort as a good thing. I don't mind the uncomfort. Little that can be good sometimes. I think at the end of the day, talent is talent. Now, the real concern about fit that I can see, I can get behind you not wanting Bregman because you don't think it's worth paying him when he's struggled at Yankee Stadium. Like, his pull rate is very high, and he's coming into a ballpark where Yankee Stadium left field is very large. You look at his career splits at the stadium, they're not pretty. So the fit is there's valid. Trying to put it in the right words. There's merit to not being too high on his fit here as a hitter. I understand that. I actually think he really, really fits at Fenway Park, which is why I think the Yankees should go after him so they don't take him. Then you have to face him even more. But I think Bregman will be worth it. I think he's worth a little bit of an overpay. If you can offload Stroman, maybe you tie in Grisham's $5 million in that in a separate deal with Stroman. That would still put the Yankees a bit over the tax. And I know this is where we get into this not really being a realistic target because most likely the Yankees want to have some flexibility entering the season. So they don't want to go too far over, right? Right now they're currently a couple million over the final CBT, which is why I think they're looking at guys like Gavin Lux and Luis Arraez. As for those two guys, like Gavin Lux, I don't know, man. I wouldn't throw a fit if they went out and traded for him. You know, he's going to be traded with the Dodgers signing Kim, not the guy with San Diego, but another Kim. And the Yankees are one of those teams who might be interested. The good thing about Gavin Lux is he's got 2 more years of control, and he's only going to cost a $2.7 million tax hit this year. So it's not terrible. He's also a 2-time champion. He won last season, and he won in 2020. At the plate, he stays inside the zone pretty well. He's got a little bit of speed. He can run the bases. And then when you look at his glove, he's versatile. He plays middle infield, and he can play a little bit of corner outfield. He's not a great glove. You know, you look at his metrics, the fielding run value, the arm strength metrics, the range and outs above average. Those aren't good. He's not much of a power threat. His slugging is below 400 every year. He's got a career 96 OPS plus. Last year he posted a 101 OPS plus with a 383 slugging percentage, which is also his career slug. So he's not going to give you much power. He's also, as a left-handed hitter, like, it's especially bad. He's notoriously atrocious versus left-handed pitching. And that's a big no thanks for me, given the Yankees' issues last year. And now you're adding on top of that, they're losing Soto and Torres, who could mash lefties. Gavin Lux is horrendous versus left-handed pitching. Last season, across 50 plate appearances, he batted .152 with a .220 on base percentage, a .174 slug, and that compiled a .394 OPS. Over the course of his career, in 280 plate appearances versus left-handed pitching, .202 batting average, .279 on base percentage, .274 slug, .552 OPS. Horrendous. So I don't know if I want a guy who can only hit versus right-handed pitching, just be a platoon guy. You can't rely on him. Maybe a split time with Cabrera and him. I don't know if I want that. He also always seems like he's hurt. I don't know the injury history behind Gavin Lux, but just on the surface, like looking at his baseball reference, the games played numbers aren't high. I would rather hang on to whatever expendable or prospects Gavin Lux would cost the Yankees. And if they're going the route where they want to get a cheaper infielder, I mean, I want Brendan Donovan. If you want to hear more about my thoughts on Brendan Donovan, check out our most recent Yankees episode. But Luis Arraez, you can pay him for 1 year. Now, this is more of a tax hit. It's $13.7 million against the tax. But he's the more flashy player to go after, right? It's a bigger name. He's a very one-dimensional player. He's got no glove. His speed is not great. He's not a great base runner. So that doesn't really fit the Yankees. And obviously he's got very, very little pop, which doesn't fit the Yankees. He can slug adequately because he will hit a lot of doubles and he gets a ton of singles. But we're talking home run power. There's not much there at all. You know, as a rookie, he slugged 4 home runs through 92 games. In the shortened schedule, he hit 0 home runs in 32 games in 2020. And in the last 4 years, 2 home runs, 8 home runs, 10 home runs, 4 home runs last season. and he's played the vast majority of his games. He's not going to get you home runs. He can pull the ball a little bit, so there's some Yankee Stadium aspect to it, but like how much power increase do you really expect? 10 home runs was his career high, and he's not sniffed close to that really since. So, the one thing Luis Arraez is good at, and it's really one thing that he's good at, he is also very, very, very fucking elite at. I'll give him that. I would go as far as to say he's definitely the best contact bat in Major League Baseball, and it's not close. So he's a guarantee, a literal guarantee to bat over 300. He's won 3 consecutive batting titles, 1 in each league. He's pretty much a guarantee to compile a 360 OBP. He very rarely strikes out. And that's not an exaggeration. Last year, he only had 23 strikeouts, which resulted to a 4% K rate. His career K rate is less than 7%. For your information, the league average K rate usually sits around 23% each year. The guy makes contact. So he would definitely help the Yankees in terms of needing more guys who can get on base because they do lack that. And he'd give them their leadoff hitter. You want somebody left-handed before Aaron Judge, who's always on base to start the game? That's Luis Arraez. He would absolutely get them that. So I'd take him. I would 100% take him. I've always been a big Luis Arraez fan. I'm just not as crazy about him now because the Yankees at this point are desperate for pop. You know, they lost 70 home runs about between Soto, Torres, and Verdugo. They decided not to go after Walker, who's a consistent 30-plus home run threat. They decided not to go, or they're probably going to decide to not go after Bregman, who's a consistent 25-homer threat. I just think they need a lot more power than they have. But overall, you know, there's potential for this lineup to provide power. It's, again, they're relying on ifs and what ifs. Like, you know, now that you're getting a full season of Jazz Chisholm, now that you're getting a full season of Jason Dominguez, and you're getting a full season of Cody Bellinger, and a full season of Paul Goldschmidt, and a full season of Austin Wells, who, you know, didn't really take over the job until a little later, you know, May and June. So hopefully you get some production in that bottom half of the order. Speaking of Austin Wells, I do want to talk a little bit about the Yankee catcher because I think he can be key to that bottom of the order. So we'll talk Austin Wells when we return from break here on episode 775 of BD4. Stay with us. BD4 is available on social media for those who want to follow. You can find BD4 on Instagram at BD4Pod. You can find us on X at BD4Pod. And you can find us on Facebook by simply searching BD4. Hey guys, just a quick reminder, this podcast is also available in video format on YouTube. So be sure to go over to the YouTube channel, BD4, subscribe, like the videos, comment and tell me how much I suck or maybe how much you like the video. We'd very much appreciate it. All right, so we got some breaking news here, folks. Before we talk Austin Wells, we got some breaking news here. Literally, as we just headed to break there, I see on my phone, I open Instagram app and I follow one of the Yankees content creators. And I see that the Dodgers just traded Gavin Lux. So he's with Cincinnati, so you can cross that off the list. And maybe now the Luis Arraez market heats up a bit. So keep an eye on that. That's not going to take us off track. I do want to get to something And that's Austin Wells. Austin Wells is going to play a key factor this year, in my opinion. Last episode we talked about where is the power going to come from in the bottom half of the order. So we talked a little bit about how Jason Dominguez could be that. I want to talk about Austin Wells now because he's really the only other young prospect on this team that I see legitimate power from. Right? I'm not sure about Volpe. I don't know if he's going to be able to produce much power. Cabrera obviously is not known for his bat. And, whoever wins the job there, if they don't get another infielder, Vivas is very small. I don't see him producing power. Peraza, I don't think he has a bat. Austin Wells is really, and Spencer Jones is a ways away, at least a year away. Austin Wells is most likely going to be hitting in the bottom half of the order. I think they're going to take him off cleanup now. And he's a guy who I really think can provide consistent thump at the bottom. He came off a very solid 2024 season where he slowly took over the starting job later in the year, earlier in the year, but after April, he started getting more reps. Once Trevino went down, he took over and took off, right? He raked in the middle of the summer, tapered off a little bit in September, October, but overall finished third in the American League Rookie of the Year voting behind Luis Heel, who won, and Colton Cowser with Baltimore. And I think that is Cowser with Baltimore? Drawing a blank here, but I think Austin Wells will take a step forward. His numbers last year were, all in all, very productive for a rookie catcher. He played 115 games. He accumulated a 3.4 F/WAR. Batted .229 with the Yankees, .395 slug, .322 on base percentage, and a .718 OPS. 103 OPS plus, and he produced a 105 WRC plus. 18 doubles, 13 homers, 55 RBIs. He drew 47 walks at an 11% rate, and he struck out 87 times at a 21% rate. You go to the backstop numbers, the catching numbers were very strong. Blocks above average, he was 75th percentile. Caught stealing above average, he was 53rd percentile. Framing, 96th percentile. Fielding run value, 96th percentile. And the only metric that he was below average in was pop time, 30th percentile, right? He didn't have the greatest arm, but he wasn't a total liability. And, teams were running all over him like they did Jose Trevino. Offensively, he was very productive. I still think there are two major areas of improvement that need to be made. And that's hitting left-handed pitching and hitting fastballs up in the zone, over the zone. Right? He struggled last year, especially as the season went along, versus high fastballs. He had issues laying off or getting to fastballs that were up and above the zone. And that's because his swing plane is designed for loft. It's designed to get the ball in the air, for high launch angle on contact, right, to generate power and get lift, elevate the baseball. And that's sometimes going to lead to a lot of whiffs and some soft contact and some pop-ups when you get those fastballs upstairs. It's tougher to barrel those pitches up and over the zone without crazy elite bat speed. And the eye test showed all of last year, just watching this guy, you saw he started to struggle on those fastballs upstairs. And the metrics also back it up. So if you're watching the video format of the podcast, you probably see some of the charts on the screen. I think I have one chart. Yeah, you can see the chart on the screen. We'll get to that in just a second. But last year, Austin Wells had 25 barrels 2 of them came on anything up in the zone. So that was just 8%. He struck out 87 times. 29 of those strikeouts came on pitches up in the zone. That's a whole third of his strikeouts. He had 107 hard hit balls. 8 on anything up in the zone. So only 7%. And the chart that you see on the screen here, if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, those are his whiff rates versus four-seam fastballs last year. And there's a trend. Okay, on this chart, red is, you don't want red. You want blue. And last season, as you can see, pitches that were high and out above the zone, he was 16% worse than league average in terms of whiff rate. Right? See that 43% right there is what I'm looking at. Pitches that were high and middle out above the zone, he was 9% worse than league average. So that's that 35% number I see there. Pitches that were high and out in the zone, he was 10% worse than league average whiff rate. That is the 27% number you see there. And then the number to the right of that, high and middle out in the zone, he was 20% worse than a league average whiff rate. So he swung and missed a lot, and he had a tough time getting to those high velocity up in the zone pitches or up over the zone pitches too. And I don't think that's ever going to be something that's a strength of his unless he makes major mechanical tweaks in his swing, which I think would be a very bad idea given his swing is why he's here, and it just makes perfect sense for Yankee Stadium short porch. He's always going to be a low ball hitter, as you can see. Those whiff rates are very good when you start to get middle, low in the zone. Even below the zones here. Even below the zone there. You see a lot of 0%, 17%, 5%. He makes a lot of contact when he swings at those pitches. He just needs to be a little more selective on those fastballs up in the zone. So you're not asking him to start mashing those fastballs. You're just asking him to lay off some of those pitches that he can't get to because it doesn't really work with his swing. His slugging percentage last year, again, it finished at .395, so it it dipped after a hot August. But that's still solid for a catcher, no doubt. But I still think there's more untapped potential in Austin Wells' bat. I think he can do better than that. I think the goal for him this year should be to get that slugging to .415. And I think if he can get more selective and he lays off those pitches, I think the slugging, but also the on-base percentage, will see an even higher uptick, which will lead to a better OPS. And this obviously goes hand in hand with how he hits versus left-handed pitching. Last year, Austin Wells, 197 batting average, 299 on base, 227 slug versus left-handed pitching. 526 OPS and 77 plate appearances last year against lefties. Over the course of his career, he's got a 485 OPS and 83 plate appearances against lefties. And without Jose Trevino, who was very decent versus left-handed pitching, to spare him anymore, you wonder if that's going to be an issue. Who's the backup catcher going to be? Is it going to be the guy they got in that deal from Cincy, Jackson? Are they going to find one in camp? Are they going to make a deal, trade, sign someone? I don't know. But I do think Wells just needs to be MLB caliber versus left-handed pitching eventually. But right now, he's not there. He's totally lost against lefties. And to be fair, it's a very small sample. And he's also had some success hitting lefties in the minors. So that's a reason to be optimistic. But for the most part, so far in the MLB, he's struggling versus left-handed pitching, whether it's struggling to pick up the release point and pitch movement, pitch selection and sequencing, or just getting plate coverage versus the outer half. It's something that you hope comes with experience in more reps, which is why I was hoping Boone would stop sitting him versus righties earlier in the year, or lefties earlier in the year, because I want him to get those reps in. I want him to gain more confidence, and hopefully with the full-time job this year, that improves. But overall, he's a potent lefty bat who can drive the baseball. Just need to see it with more consistency, and I think the power numbers will take a jump. He's also got great plate discipline, right? The approach as it is very good. He takes his walks. He doesn't chase much. He swings at pitches inside the zone. So I think that's why he's going to be a solid bat for the Yankees. Steamer projects him to bat .231 with a .314 on base, .411 slug, .725 OPS, and a .107 WRC plus this upcoming season with 16 homers, 51 RBIs. Those are, projections tend to be a little bit conservative, but I would like to see a little bit more there in his numbers this year. A little more in the on base, a little more in the power department, right? But if you can get that, if you can get development in Austin Wells and you can get him hitting like he's capable of at the bottom of the order, it vastly changes things for the Yankees. So that's all I got there. I'm going to wrap this episode up. Yanks eyeing Lux Arráez potentially here. Gavin Lux has been traded. Will Austin Wells take another jump forward? Appreciate you all. We're going to wrap it up here, and I'll see you in the next show. Well, if you made it this far, that means you listened to or watched the entire episode. Thank you. Just remember to follow, subscribe, download, rate and review, and all that fun stuff to help out the podcast. And I will see you in the next episode of BD4.